You think you're being careful. You think you're preparing, analyzing, protecting yourself. But what you're really doing is drowning. Overthinking is not insight. It's not clarity. It's fear wearing the mask of intelligence. And the Stoics knew this. They didn't waste their lives in endless loops of what if and what could go wrong. They trained their minds to act, not spiral, to reflect, not ruminate, to move forward, not freeze. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, never once said, "Think about it 100 times until you're sure." He said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Simple, direct, decisive. Because the longer you hesitate, the weaker you become. The more you circle the same thought, the more lost you feel. And in a world full of noise, the ability to quiet your mind is a superpower. This video is a guide rooted in Stoic principles to help you stop overthinking and build a mind that's still, strong, and sharp under pressure. Part 1. Define what's in your control and ignore the rest. Most of what's on your mind right now isn't yours to carry. What they'll say, how it'll turn out, if they'll stay, if you'll fail. Thoughts spinning in your head, not because they help, but because your brain thinks worrying equals control. It doesn't. Overthinking is a confusion of roles. You're trying to do life's job instead of your own. The Stoics had one of the most powerful mental filters in all of philosophy. It was a simple question, but it changed everything. Is this within my control? If yes, act on it. If no, let it go. That's it, Epictetus, a former slave who rose to become one of Stoicism's greatest minds, began his entire teaching with this. Some things are up to us, and some are not. He didn't say everything will be okay. He said, focus only on what you can control, and you'll be okay. Because the truth is, overthinking grows in the space where clarity is missing. When you don't know what's yours and what isn't, everything becomes your burden. You try to control outcomes, other people's opinions, tomorrow, next week, every scenario, and in doing so, you lose the present. But when you draw the line, when you say, Gives this is mine, my thoughts, my actions, my values, Gives that is not, their reaction, the result. The chaos outside me, you cut through the noise. You reclaim your mind. Think of a ship in a storm. You can't control the sea, but you can tighten the sails. You can hold the wheel. You can face the wave head on. That's what the Stoics did. They didn't waste time hoping the storm would stop. They trained to face it. So if you're stuck in your head, ask this. Is this something I can influence right now? If not, why am I burning energy on it? It sounds simple, but it's powerful, because clarity reduces anxiety, and nothing brings clarity faster than separating what's yours from what isn't. Overthinking whispers, control everything. Stoicism replies, control yourself, and that's more than enough. Part 2. Act according to reason, not emotion. Emotions are loud. Reason is quiet. That's why overthinking wins. Because you mistake mental noise for mental clarity. You confuse the spinning for strategy, the anxiety for insight. But the Stoics had a rule. Don't act from emotion, act from reason. Not because emotions are bad, but because they're unreliable. Today's fear might be tomorrow's regret. Today's urgency might be a trap in disguise. Marcus Aurelius wrote, if someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth by which no one was ever truly harmed. He didn't say, follow your gut. He said, follow the truth. The problem with overthinking is that it's emotion pretending to be logic. You say you're analyzing, you're actually panicking. The Stoic path is different. They trained themselves to pause, to ask, gives what is the rational thing to do right now? Gives what would a wise, calm, focused version of me choose? That's not denial, that's strength. It takes discipline to separate what you feel from what's right. Epictetus reminded us that we're not disturbed by events, we're disturbed by our judgment about them. And judgment is shaped by emotion, unless you take control. So how do you act with reason? You simplify. Strip away the what-ifs. Focus on what you know. Ask what aligns with your values, not your fears. Because every time you act from anxiety, you strengthen it. But every time you act from clarity, you weaken the hold of overthinking. Think of it like this. Overthinking asks, what if this goes wrong? Stoicism answers, what is the right thing to do regardless? That shift changes everything. Instead of obsessing over outcomes, you ground yourself in principles. Instead of spinning in thought, you move forward in calm action. And here's the irony. The more you do this, the less you need to think. Because you trust yourself. You train your brain to follow reason over reactivity. And when your next challenge comes, you won't collapse under mental chaos. You'll already know you'll move, not from impulse, but from virtue. That's Stoic mental strength, not cold, not robotic, just anchored. Part 3. Limit your input. Guard your mind. If your mind feels overwhelmed, it's probably overcrowded. Too many voices, too many opinions, too many tabs open in your browser and in your brain. You're not confused because you don't know what to do. You're confused because you're absorbing too much. And the Stoics would tell you, that's a mental weakness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, we must limit ourselves to what is essential and not overload the mind. Why? Because clarity comes from subtraction, not addition. We live in a world obsessed with more data, more advice, more scrolling. But the Stoic path is about less noise, less stimulation, less emotional junk food. You can't think clearly if your mind is bloated. Just like your body struggles after overeating, your brain struggles after consuming. So here's the question. Gives, what are you feeding your mind every day? Gives, what content? What conversations? What distractions? Are they helping you move forward? Or just keeping your mental wheels spinning? Epictetus said, if you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in external things. In other words, you don't need to know everything. You need to know what matters and protect it fiercely. So what does this look like in practice? It means turning off the news when it becomes noise. It means muting the people who drain you. It means not checking your phone first thing in the morning because your mind deserves to meet yourself before it meets the world. It means choosing intentional input. The Stoics were deliberate with their mental diet. They didn't fill their heads with rumors, gossip, or speculation. They reflected, they read philosophy, not clickbait, and that's why they could think clearly when the world was falling apart. You want to stop overthinking, then stop inviting chaos into your mind. Cut the excess, silence the static. Curate your attention like it's sacred, because it is. The world doesn't get quieter, but your mind can dot. And once it does, you'll hear something far more powerful than noise. Your own reason. Part 4. Write it down, then let it go. Your mind is not a storage unit. It's not meant to hold every fear, every what if, every half-finished thought. But most people treat it like one, so they walk around, overloaded, mentally tense, emotionally scattered, exhausted before the day even starts. The Stoics had a better solution. Empty your mind onto the page. Before Marcus Aurelius went to bed or led an army, he wrote, not for anyone else, not to be remembered, but to think clearly. His Meditations, now one of the most important philosophical texts in history, was just a journal, a private tool to sharpen the mind and soothe the soul. Because writing slows you down. It forces order onto chaos. It turns fog into form. If you're overthinking, sit down and write. Write what's bothering you, what you're afraid of, what you don't want to admit out loud. Ask yourself, Gives what exactly am I anxious about? Gives what story am I repeating in my mind? Gives what would a calm, wise person do in this situation? And then let the paper hold. It, the Stoics understood. The mind is for making decisions, not for looping spirals. When you write it down, you break the loop. You expose the irrational. You often realize, that's what I was spinning over. It's smaller than you thought. Journaling isn't venting, it's surgery. You dissect your thoughts, not to wallow in them, but to remove what's unnecessary. To cut away exaggeration, fear, ego, and get to the truth. And once you've done that, here's the key. Let it go. Don't carry it around all day. Don't revisit it like an old wound. If it's something you can act on, act. If it's not, release it. You wrote it. You faced it. You dealt with it. Now you move on. The Stoics weren't obsessed with healing forever. They wanted clarity, and clarity lives on the other side of expression. So if your mind is spinning, don't just think harder. Write not to sound wise, not to publish, just to see. And once you see clearly, you'll realize most of what you overthink has no real weight. You just needed to get it out of your head and onto the page. That's how Stoics stay calm. That's how you will, too. Part 5. Accept the outcome before you begin. Most overthinking begins with fear of the future. What if this doesn't work? What if they don't like me? What if I fail? So you stall, you obsess, you circle the same decision over and over. Not because you don't know what to do, but because you're terrified of what happens after. The Stoics had a different approach. Before they acted, they accepted. The outcome is not mine, the action is. They asked themselves, one thing gives what is the right thing to do. And once they answered that, they acted. No clinging, no begging the universe to cooperate, no spinning in what-ifs. Because once you've chosen the virtuous action, you've already succeeded. The result is just decoration. Epictetus said, make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens. That's not passivity, that's mental toughness. That's how you move through life without breaking every time something goes sideways. Think about it. You can give your all to a project and still get rejected. You can love someone fully and still lose them. You can prepare for days and still fall short. And if your peace depends on things working out, you'll never be free. But if your peace depends on your integrity, on how you show up, how you act, how you carry yourself, then nothing can touch it. This is what it means to accept the outcome before you begin. Gives you do what's right, gives you surrender the rest. That surrender isn't weakness, it's confidence. Because you're saying, I trust myself to handle whatever comes. Not to always win, but to always respond with calm, clarity, and character. And that takes courage, because letting go of results means letting go of your ego. No more chasing praise, no more attaching your worth to metrics you can't control. No more turning every decision into a crisis, just action, rooted in reason. Free from fear, so next time you feel paralyzed by the what-ifs, ask yourself, have I done everything within my control? Did I act with wisdom and integrity? Can I let the rest unfold without begging it to go my way? If you can answer yes, you're free. Free to move, free to let go, free from the prison of needing life to play by your script. That's real mental strength. That's Stoicism in motion. Part 6. Move the body to quiet the mind. Sometimes the mind won't shut up because the body won't move. You sit there, stuck in a loop, thinking harder, analyzing more, trying to think your way out of anxiety, as if overthinking is a puzzle that just needs solving. But the Stoics knew something deeper. When the mind is restless, move the body. Marcus Aurelius wasn't just a philosopher. He was an emperor, a soldier, a man of action. He wrote his meditations while leading armies, dealing with plagues, navigating betrayals. He didn't escape his problems in thought. He moved through them with discipline, because movement interrupts the spiral. Physical motion breaks the mental loop. Your breath, your posture, your pace, they're not side effects, they're levers. You feel frozen. Walk, you feel scattered. Stretch, you feel anxious. Breathe deeply, intentionally. The Stoics didn't talk about exercise like we do today. They talked about training the self, physically and mentally, to stay aligned with nature, to stay useful, to stay resilient. Seneca said, we should take wandering outdoor walks, so that the mind might be nourished and refreshed by the open air and deep breathing. They understood a strong mind lives in a strong vessel, and a tired, sedentary body breeds chaos in thought. When you're trapped in overthinking, you don't need more information. You need momentum. Something simple gives a brisk walk without your phone, gives a cold shower, gives a short workout, gives 10 slow, controlled breaths. Because the mind is not isolated. It's part of your body. And when you move the body, you remind the mind, I'm not stuck, I'm not drowning, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm capable. This is not self-help fluff, it's biological. When you sit still and stress, you're signaling to your nervous system that something is wrong, that there's danger. But when you move calmly, when you breathe with control, you're telling your system, all is well, you can calm down now. That's Stoic wisdom in practice, not theoretical, practical. You don't need to figure everything out. You just need to take one small action. Let your body lead your mind out of the storm, because sometimes the fastest way to mental strength is through your feet.